Thank you for attending the Informed Voter Project launch. We have great information to share with you. Please make sure that your computer speakers are turned on and the volume is adjusted accordingly, as you will not be able to hear them over the phone. Now I'd like to turn the program over to Justice Joan Irion, Chair of the National Association of Women Judges Informed Voter Project. Judge Irion, your floor is yours.
Thank you so very much. Welcome, everyone, to the premiere of the National Association of Women Judges Informed Voter Fair Judges Project film, Fair and Free. We're really glad you've been able to join us today. Thank you. I am Justice Joan Irion. I'm Justice with the California Court of Appeal based in San Diego. I'm chair of the Informed Voters Project, and I'm so very pleased to serve as the MC for today's film premiere. You know, something very troubling is happening in America, something we can't ignore or sweep under the carpet. Our judges and courts are under attack, and our very justice system is being undermined by special interest efforts and money to influence the election of judges and ultimately judicial decisions. The NAWJ Informed Voter Fair Judges Project is designed to alert us all to these issues and to promote a fair and impartial judiciary and justice for all in our courts. I encourage all of you to listen and get involved in the conversation. More details will follow. You know, before we begin today, I'd like to introduce you to the speakers you'll hear from. First is Judge Anna Blackburn Rigsby. Judge Blackburn Rigsby is the president of the National Association of Women Judges. She also chairs the District of Columbia's Court's Standing Committee on Fairness and Access and serves as co-chair of the District of Columbia's Access to Justice Commission. Our next speaker today will be Mr. Eugene Pettis. Mr. Pettis was sworn in as the president of the Florida Bar in June of 2013. Mr. Pettis is a co-founder of Halter, Pettis & Schwam, and he's a civil litigator and practices in the area of medical malpractice, personal injury, commercial litigation, professional liability, and employment law. Now, please remember to make sure your speakers are up and the volume is turned on, and we'll hear from NAWJ's president, Judge Anna Blackburn Rigsby. Judge Blackburn Rigsby.
My name is Anna Blackburn Rigsby, and I'm a judge on the District of Columbia Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. And I am proud to be the president of the National Association of Women Judges. I'm excited to welcome all of you who are joining us for the launch of Fair and Free, a civic education film of the National Association of Women Judges Informed Voters Fair Judges Project. The film features Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. The National Association of Women Judges has over 1,200 members. Our members include federal and state court judges and judges at every level of the judiciary in every state of the country. I'm particularly excited about this project because it will play a vital role in educating the public about the importance of fair and open and free courts and the importance of the judiciary in our democratic society. The judiciary plays a vital role in protecting the rights of all. I hope you will enjoy the film. Thank you for joining us.
We would not be here today without the participation and enthusiastic support of all of our outstanding project partners and the sponsorship of so many judges, bar leaders and associations, attorneys, civics educators, and justice organizations. Today, we particularly want to recognize the Florida Bar. Their generous contribution funded production of the film, and I thank their president, Eugene Pettis, for providing some final words of introduction for today's premiere showing. Remember, if you're just joining us, please remember to make sure your computer speakers are turned on and the volume's turned up. Mr. Pettis.
We have all heard about the general public's lack of understanding of the judicial system and our overall democracy. Tragic statistics such as more than 1 in 5 Americans believe the 3 branches of government are Republican, Democrat, and Independent, or less than half of Americans can correctly explain the concept of separation of powers. Both quantify a very real threat to our democracy. In 2012, Florida held a merit retention vote for many of our appellate judges, including 3 Supreme Court justices who were targeted for removal. What the backers of that effort did not anticipate was the uprising of citizens in all parties, stating that such partisan politics is not acceptable in our court system. The Florida Bar developed an award-winning program to educate citizens on the importance of a fair and impartial judiciary. The crisis has passed, but the need for civics education remains urgent. We are pleased to support the Informed Voters Project and urge others to do the same. Together with the National Association of Women Judges, we will provide fair courts advocates with the tools they need to restore public appreciation and understanding of the role of fair and impartial courts.
And now, please enjoy Fair and Free.
Life isn't always fair, but all of us want to be treated with fairness. It seems we were born that way. Before we can read or write, we know what fair feels like.
We know what fair feels like. None of us had to be taught how to say, that's not fair. The first lessons we learn at home and at school are how to be fair. Everyone gets a turn, no cutting in line, share what you have. It seems so simple until you try to do it. Because even though we all want fairness, we don't always agree on what's fair and what isn't. Stripped down to its core, fairness is treating others the way you want them to treat you, and knowing they will treat you the same way. It's playing by the rules, even when you don't win. Because the same rules apply to everyone. Life may not be fair, but the rules we live by must be. In America, fairness is the foundation of our laws. But you won't find the word fair or fairness anywhere in our Constitution or Bill of Rights. And there's a very good reason why you won't. Our founding fathers and mothers were smart. They knew it is impossible to define what's fair and what isn't in every situation. So they created one branch of government devoted to fairness, a third branch of government equal to the others, a branch whose one and only job is to decide what's fair. It is the judicial branch. It is made up of our nation's courts and judges. Judges who don't represent one group or party versus another. Judges who don't make decisions based on their personal opinions. Impartial judges who apply the law without playing favorites. Free from fear or sympathy or prejudice. Free from the influence of special interest groups. Free from emotions that fuel our country's most divisive debates. Judges who don't bend the rules. Judges who don't bend to pressure. Judges who stand for one thing and only one thing. Fairness. It isn't flashy work. Nobody ever went to a game to watch the referee, but there can't be a fair contest without one. It means making hard but fair calls and not letting the crowd's reaction change your mind. Because fairness has never been a popularity contest, and doing what's right isn't based on poll numbers. Throughout our history, Americans look to the courts for fairness. Today, Americans still go to court because they trust the judge will handle their case with an even hand, fair and square. They believe that while no one in America is above the law, all of us are entitled to the same law, guaranteed by fair and impartial judges. In this country, our courts are the great levelers. In our courts, all men are created equal. I'm no idealist to believe firmly in the integrity of our courts. That is no ideal to me. That is a living, working reality. Harper Lee's words from To Kill a Mockingbird, spoken by Atticus Finch, are true.
I have seen that reality. I have worked alongside judges and justices dedicated to defending the integrity of our courts. even-handed judges committed to doing justice for all, impartial judges who stand outside of politics and partisanship, free from the influence of special interests or particular groups and causes. Because when a judge does what is right according to the law, when a judge decides each case strictly on the merits, when a judge gives every case and every person the same treatment, our courts are what they have always been and must always be: fair and free.
America's courts are fair. Help keep them that way with an informed vote.
Fair and free is meant to capture the very essence of what it means to Americans to have fair and impartial courts and a system of equal justice for all under the law. I hope you agree the film does that in spades. We thank our talented scriptwriter, Jonathan Shapiro, and our producers, Luke Ashleman and Corey Weibo, and today's host, LexisNexis, and its entire team for bringing you this film. You know, today there seems to be a growing public sentiment that public opinion should influence the outcome of court cases. It's a message that's being repeated over and over again in media coverage of court rulings that in the opinion of some are out of step with the popular will. Judges who rule according to the Constitution and law are called activists, courts out of touch. We know that large sums of money are being spent by special interest groups in an attempt to influence the result of state judicial elections and ultimately judicial decisions. The special interest monies often come from out of state and are funneled through organizations with names that leave ordinary citizens hard-pressed to identify the spender's ideology, political agendas, or interests. We've witnessed an increase in negative advertising about judges in the courts, a loss of transparency in judicial elections, and a growing loss of public trust and confidence in America's judicial system. Americans are beginning to wonder if justice is for sale in this country. This is a troubling trend and one that we must reverse, lest we lose what former United States Supreme Court Justice William Rehnquist called the crown jewel of American democracy, our courts. We need to act, and that's why NAWJ is taking action. NAWJ launched the Informed Voter Fair Judges Project to foster a dialogue. We know that when judges, lawyers, business and community leaders, and justice organizations talk with the voters about the role of the courts, the importance of fair and impartial courts, and give voters the basic information they need to make an informed decision at the ballot box, the voters will listen and they'll act. In doing so, the voters will preserve the integrity of America's court system, and that's going to benefit us all. The National Association of Women Judges Informed Voter Fair Judges Project goal is very simple. It's to promote a fair and impartial judiciary. Our Informed Voter Fair Judges Project message is also very simple, and it's unifying. It's one we can all get behind. It is, fair and impartial courts are a sacred tenet of our democracy. Our system of checks and balances will fail if we allow special interests to gain influence over the selection and election and retention of judges. But voters can ensure that America has fair and impartial courts and equal justice for all under the law by exercising an informed vote at the ballot box. Pretty simple, pretty basic, pretty important. The project targets 8 states for more intensive voter education efforts during the pilot year. Coordinating committees are placing public service announcements and advertisements, scheduling community presentations, and engaging voters via web and social media to support campaign activities in Alaska, California, Florida, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Tennessee, and Washington. To learn more about the Informed Voter Fair Judges campaign, to view the educational tools that are available, many in both English and Spanish, and to find out how you can get involved, please log on to our project website, ivp.nawj.org. There you'll also find links to the Informed Voter Project Facebook and Twitter pages, to the project film postings on YouTube, and to the Vimeo account, which will allow you to forward those 30-second project clips to your friends, colleagues, and neighbors. Log on. Join us. And now we'd like to conclude today's presentation with some final words from Judge Blackburn Rigsby. Judge Blackburn Rigsby.
Thank you, Justice Arian, both for your efforts in leading the charge for the Informed Voters Project and your work here today helping us to launch this important project. I would also like to take the time to thank our project partners for their continued commitment and support. At the start of our time together today, Justice Arian highlighted our purpose and our passion about this important subject, fair and impartial courts. Of course, we would expect judges to have an interest in this subject, but many of you may not fully understand why you should be interested and passionate about this subject as well. How many times have the courts and the judicial system touched your life or the lives of your family members or friends? For example, in a family matter such as a divorce or child custody matter, a probate or will of a loved one, a criminal case that impacts you or a family member, or a business dispute or property dispute, or perhaps a car accident or other injuries. These are just a few examples of how the courts in this nation touch the lives of everyday people from all walks of life every day. It is important to all of us that our courts are fair and impartial. Wouldn't you agree with me? There are many different ways that you can get involved. Become an informed voter partner. Start talking to your friends and colleagues and neighbors. Join this conversation about the importance of fair and free courts through Facebook, through Twitter, or through your other social media outlets. Tell your story or share the impact and why it's important to you and to your friends and neighbors for this country and for the courts in our country to remain fair and free. Maybe you have a means through which you can share either the English or Spanish version of the fair and free film which you've just watched. You could show it in your community, at one of your community organizations or churches. Engage a group of friends or neighbors in a discussion talking about the importance of a fair and independent judiciary in this country. If you're located in one of the 8 project states, consider taking part in the state's committee or in other civic and voter education efforts. You can find more information and leave a message via the NAWJ Informed Voter Fair Judges Project website, ivp.nawj.org. Regardless of the way you further these efforts, the most critical thing is to continue the conversation. Continue to shed light on why it is vital that America's courts remain independent, fair, and free for all. And continue to protect the integrity of the judiciary and its independence from political and special interest influence. Please expect an email that contains a recording of today's presentation and a link to the website and social outlets. Share this information. And please, please join in this very important conversation and help us and help NAWJ to keep our courts fair and free, Thank you for your support and for joining us today.
This does conclude today's conference call. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.